Hey guys, for today we are going to be working on Everyday Math Lesson 3.2 Estimating Costs Day 1. So we're going to do this in two parts. Today we will be solving a problem, and then we will meet in our small groups and talk about your guys' answers and explain what we were thinking. So you have a couple assignments. Your first one is going to be the estimating cost page that's going to be in Kami. Your second one will be a rounding money page that will also be in Kami. And then I want you to watch the Brain Pop rounding video. So our objective for today is I can estimate the cost of objects and explain my reasoning. So this assignment is part of it going to be the estimating, but a big part of this is going to be explaining our reasoning. So our thinking, why we picked what we picked. So I want you to turn into your math journal, page 67, and follow along, maybe take some notes, because this is going to be very similar to what we're going to be doing for your assignment. So the question says, Rosa makes an estimate for the addition problem below. She uses numbers that are close to the numbers in the problem, but are easier to use. When we are looking at using easier to use numbers, we're looking at rounding or estimating. Those numbers need to end in a 0 so that they are easier to add. Whenever you are rounding, find a number that is ending in a 0. We also have talked about rounding using an open number line where we put our two possible numbers on each side and then find where the number falls on the number line to help you get to that close but easier number. So here's what her problem said. 322 plus 487 equals ? So she wasn't finding the answer. She wanted to find an estimate. She wanted to figure out a number that was close. So when I look at her paper, she wrote 320 plus 490 equals 810. That's not the original problem, but she did something. And I'm guessing that some of the things that she did was to use a number line and make her estimate. So a couple things. What is an estimate? It is picking a number that is close, but then ends in that 0 in the ones place. You might use estimating when you are looking at how much money you might spend at a store. You're not going to find every single penny that you're going to spend, but you would need to find an estimate. So we're going to look at explaining Rosa's strategy. That's part 1. Part 2 is to make a different estimate and then looking at what close but easier numbers could you use. And then we're going to write a number sentence in the thought bubble to show our thinking. So part of what I'm thinking Rosa did was maybe she drew her number line and she's looking at the number 320. Now, when I think about the number 320, I want to round, not 320, but 322. Let me fix that. So 322. I want to round to the nearest tens place. This is right here. We have the ones, we have the tens, and then we have hundreds. So I want to have this number to be my rounded number, and then I want to make this number into a 0. So I'm going to look, my number is either going to be 320, because I would change that to a 0, or I'm going to go to the next higher tens. So kind of forgetting about the hundreds place, 20 plus 10 is going to be 30, so we're going to say 330. Then remember what we do is we put in the middle, and the middle is always going to be that 5, so it would be 325. And then I find my original number on the number line. Well, 322 is going to be about right here. Because it is on the left side of the 325, I know that I'm going to round to 320. So Rosa rounded to 320 because of the number line. Then I want to look at my 490 or 487. And again, I'm going to use my number line. So here's my number line. I'm looking to round the number 487. I'm going to round to the tens place again, which is the 8. So I would be either rounding it to 400, not the 7, but I'm going to put a 0, so 480. Or I would go to the next 10. So 480 plus 10 is going to be 490. I'm going to find my middle, which is going to be 485. And then find my original number, which is 487, is going to be somewhere down here. It is on the right side of 485, so I'm going to round to 490, which is what she did. So after she found her numbers that she wanted to estimate with, she added them together to get 820. So I just walked through and I explained what I did out loud, but my directions say to explain her thinking to a partner, but I also want to look at maybe writing something. And so what I decided I wanted to write was, first, Rosa rounded 322 to 320. She rounded to the nearest place, tens place. When I use a number line and round to the nearest 10, my two choices could be 320 or 330. 322 is actually closer to 320. Rosa rounded 487 to 490. When I use a number line and round to the nearest tens, my two choices could be 480 or 490. 487 is closer to 490. And then she added 320 plus 490 equals 810. So this is one way that she could estimate or find a close but easier number. Part 2 says to make a different estimate, what close but easier numbers could you use? We're going to write a different number sentence in the thought bubble to show our thinking. So when I'm thinking about this, I've already rounded to the tens. Another number that I could round to would be to the hundreds. So on my number line, I'm going to focus on just the hundreds place. So I know that there's a 3 in the hundreds. To find the number on the left, my 3 is going to stay the same, and then I want to have zeros. And I keep forgetting that my number is 322. So my number is 322. I'm rounding to the hundreds place. So that 100 is going to stay the same at 300. And then I want to have zeros for the rest of them. So I'm either going to have 300 or the next bigger 100, which would be 400. I also am going to find the middle, which in this case is going to be 350. And then finally, I put in my number on the number line. So 322 is going to be somewhere over here. So 322 is actually going to be closer to 330 than it would be to 400. So the first part of my answer is going to be 300. Then I'm going to look at rounding 500 to the nearest 100. So I would have my number line again. My number is 487. I want to round to the nearest hundreds. So my 400 will stay the same, but the rest of it will become zeros. So my left side becomes 400. On the right side, I bump up to the next higher number, and that's going to become 500. In the middle, I have 450. And then I'm going to place my number 387, which is going to be somewhere down here. And I can see that it is closer to 500. It is to the right of 450. So my answers, or my round numbers, would be 300 plus 500 equals 800. So I would write that here. 300 plus 500 equals 800. Now, the cool thing with doing it this way is you can see how close these numbers actually are. So both estimates are reasonable. We have 300 plus 500 is 800, and then the other number is 320 plus 490 equals 810. 810 and 800 are still pretty close. The close but easier numbers you choose depends on how you add in your head or how close you want the estimate to be. So if you want a closer estimate, you're going to round to the nearest 10. If you find that rounding to the nearest hundreds is easier for you to add or subtract, then you can round to the hundreds. Your answer just might be a little bit further off. So you're going to have to decide which way is easier for you. Now, for your part, I want you to put your pencil away and kind of just think for a second. And you are pretending that you are walking home from school with Anne without a pencil or a calculator. And you are going to decide how you can help Anne, and then decide if you need an exact answer, if you could use your estimate to decide whether Anne's answer is reasonable. So looking at the page, we're going to be talking about the problem. So right here, Anne and her friend are walking home from school. Anne shows her friend this homework. So this is her homework, this box. The art club has $100 to spend on materials. They bought watercolor paints for $38 and brushes for $19. So there's a picture of the water paint and the brushes. How much money does the club have left over? So her answer was $67. Now, here's where you're going to be doing the work. It says, suppose you are Anne's friend and you do not have a pencil or a calculator with you. In your head, I want you to make an estimate of how much money the club has left over, and then write your answers on the next page. So I will tell you that you will be rounding or finding close numbers for the paint set and the brushes, and then you're going to be finding the difference from 100. All right, so when you get to the second page, it says write your estimate on how much money the club has left over. You're going to write your estimate here. It says use your estimate to decide whether Anne's answer is reasonable. And the question says, is Anne's answer reasonable? You're going to say yes or no. And then it says show your thinking, how you used an estimate in the thought bubble below. So you're going to show what you were thinking when you did your estimate. When we get into our groups, we will go over this together. I do want to say something. You are not finding the exact answer. I don't want to know the exact answer. I want to know the estimate to decide if her solution is reasonable or correct. Do not give me the exact answer. So, looking back at our slides, going back to our first part, our agenda, I want to show you what it will look like when you go to your assignment. So we're going to click on, it's not letting me click right, but we'll click on this one and then go back. So I want to show you your first page. Actually, I don't need to show you. That was just what I did show you. And then here's your rounding page. It's all about rounding money. And the directions say round each amount to the nearest dollar. So in each of these cases, this is the dollar, the $3, $2, $2. So your answers are either going to be $3 or $4. This one would be $2 because this would stay the same, or the next higher dollar, which is 3. So you'll go through those and find to the nearest dollar. The middle part says which two clouds contain, or which two cloud numbers round to $8. So you'll look and you'll write these dollar amounts that would go to $8. And then which two would round to $9? Again, pick here. Write true or false for each statement. Again, you're going to look at, does it round to the nearest $8? So you would say true or false. Once you submit that, you click on the next button and watch the video on BrainPop.